In September 2012, Benjamin Netanyahu stood up before the General Assembly in New York with this cartoon graphic, suggesting an Iranian bomb was imminent.
And by next spring, at most by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage.
Less than 1 month after his UN speech, this report, passed by Mossad to South African intelligence, shows that privately, Mossad accepted that Iran was not performing the activity necessary to produce weapons, and doesn't appear to be ready to enrich uranium to the higher levels needed for a nuclear bomb.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would appear to have some serious explaining to do. Already under fire for his planned address to the American Congress and refusing to back down, he is now being assailed in the national and international media for allegedly presenting false facts to the United Nations and the world over the budding Iranian nuclear program. As always, we are forced to ask the question then, who's telling the truth? Our guest is Deputy Director in the Washington, D.C. office of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. Pleasure to welcome back Alireza Jafarzadeh joins us today. Alireza, thank you so much for being back with us.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.
I do want to talk a little bit about the parallel nuclear program that I know you discussed today in a press conference, but I want to get right to this report that came out of The Guardian in the United Kingdom and talks about the fact that the Mossad disagrees with Benjamin Netanyahu and says that Iran is not as close as he believes it is to actually creating a nuclear weapon. How do you react to that, knowing what you know about the Iranian program?
Well, I can only say what we know. There are all kinds of statements made by different countries, different agencies, different media around the world, but we're going to stick with our own facts because we have been on top of this issue since day one. We were the ones who exposed blew the whistle on the nuclear program of Iran when we exposed the uranium enrichment facility in Natanz in 2002, with the heavy water facility in Iraq again in 2002, and a whole host of other nuclear sites. And most recently, just today, we had another revelation. I think if you look at the whole trend of the Iranian regime over the years, not just today or yesterday, but over 2 decades, you can see that Tehran has been consistently moving forward with the military program, focused on the nuclear weapons program of Iran. And they have all the really necessary components that they're working on in terms of uranium enrichment, in terms of getting plutonium, in terms of weaponization. And they're doing a lot of these activities secretly. Interestingly, Secretary Kerry just in October said that there are 4 pathways for Iran to get the bomb, and we want to shut down all 4 pathways. One is the underground facility in Fordo, where they have about 3,000 centrifuges there. The second is the uranium enrichment facility in Natanz, he said. The third one is Iraq heavy water facility that gives the ability to the regime to produce plutonium. And the 4th pathway is the covert program. And I think the covert side is the most serious part of it because, that's the nature of it. And today we discussed the covert side of it.
Let's talk about that, what actually you folks announced today, talking about an active and secret parallel nuclear program in Iran. What exactly does that mean?
Well, what we showed today that the Iranian regime since 2004 got engaged in building an underground facility in northeast of Tehran in a military zone. It's called Lavizan 3, and they covered it under another government agency, the Ministry of Intelligence. One of the companies that is owned by the Ministry of Intelligence is called MidPoint, that produces all the ID cards. That company was used, and under that building, there's a tunnel, there's elevators goes through a tunnel 200 meters long, leading to 4 underground hallways, each of them 10 by 40 meters. And in those hallways, deep underground, about 50 meters down, Tehran has been doing research and development and uranium enrichment using highly advanced centrifuge machines, including IR2M, IR3, and IR4, These are the machines that are much faster than what the regime already has. Most of the centrifuge machines in Natanz, for instance, about 18,000 of them are all IR1. And IR2 that they're working on is about at least 5 times faster. So that gives a significant leap to the Iran regime's capability. Second, they're doing it secretly, so it's away from the eyes of the International Atomic Energy Agency. And ironically, as the P5+1 and Iran are negotiating, supposedly on the number of centrifuges Tehran should or should not have, you know, their hands are caught cheating again and running this secret facility. Now, what does that mean? I think it's clearly in violation of Non-Proliferation Treaty, in violation of UN Security Council resolutions, in violation of the Joint Plan of Action, which is the direct force behind the talks. But also it clearly shows that, you know, the talks are really meaningless unless we get to the bottom of this. How can you talk with the other party when the other party constantly cheats and lies to you, and you know that they're lying, and you just continue the talk? So I think, as we demanded today, we said, number one, the IAEA should be allowed
Alireza, I have to interrupt you for a moment here because we only have 1 minute left here, but I need to ask you this. Where is Iran getting all of these parts from? Because obviously someone is feeding them the material, the centrifuges, and the physical material they need to make these bombs. Where are they getting it from?
Well, a lot of it is actually homemade because the centrifuges, the Iran regime produces itself. They have workshops that they're producing centrifuges. Most of the parts of the centrifuges are built in Iran, but there are some parts that they have imported before, and they have a lot of it in stock already, so they're not in shortage of it, and they had imported it from a whole host of countries before. But I think what is important is that we need to call for the IAEA to go and inspect this site immediately, and we need to make the talks, continuation of the talks, conditional upon getting to the bottom line of this underground facility at Lavizan 3.
All right, got it. We're all out of time, unfortunately. It's a blockbuster report today. We're going to be following up with you on this, and we'll see exactly what the U.S. government has to say when they look at your findings. Alireza Jafarzadeh, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Always a pleasure. Scary stuff indeed. All right, she is the irresistible force when it comes to money in America. Tremble once again as she makes an appearance before Congress and decides our fate. Bulls, bears, bucks, on the other side of the break. It's when we continue right here where we question everything. This is MidPoint.